The Business Simplicity Podcast, where leaders share their most successful strategies and the failures that inspired them, so business owners and managers can avoid the suffering and reap the benefits. With your host, Chris Parker.
And welcome back to the Business Simplicity Podcast. This is Chris Parker, and I'm having a conversation with Jürgen Maus, who is an Agile coach and trainer with Adjugo. And I guess for like 25 years, he's been an R&D lead in Agile and Scrum. And I met him at an amazing conference called XP Days, the XP Days Benelux version. And those that maybe in the US, Benelux means Belgium, Luxembourg, and Netherlands, different order, which was incredible. And I remember that quite triggered by the workshop he's giving. And I've been working with some other people from Adjugo recently. So like, hey, let's, is it at all possible to bring some of that energy of Jürgen into the podcast? So loving this, really curious where we go with it. Jürgen, can you maybe kick us off and share a little bit about yourself and like, what is it that you do?
Yeah. First of all, thanks, Chris, to the invitation. It's nice to have that conversation with you. I heard a lot of good things about you, so yeah, good that we can connect. What I'm doing, I have to bring you back to a little bit the first years of my career, because I was working as electronic engineering. We did kind of video processing for customer projects, and we were 4 or 5 people. And we love to do that. It's we had to do everything ourselves. So there was nobody helping us. So everything we did was together. We built up the electronics. We integrated the customer. A lot of energy. We went for the same goal, and that was so nice. We even looked for our own project. So from the moment we were at the customer, we looked what would they need extra? And then we tried to figure it out, and also tried to figure out our own products. And that's a little bit, it was an amazing period. And later on, we grew in all kinds of systems and so on. But yeah, at some point, I want to get back to that. I want to have the same feeling, same energy. And that's where I changed. I think it's 6-7 years ago where I started to do Scrum Master and Agile coaching. And I still want to go back with a bigger system, so more teams and so on. But I want to create that same feeling again, that same feeling of going together, that energy, that going hand in hand. And I know it's more difficult, of course, because the more teams need to align with each other. But I still think it's possible. And I learned a lot of kind of coaching techniques and so on that I use. But above all, it's about listening to people, let people believe in themselves, let them get ownership again of a lot of things, and then you see that people are blossoming, and yeah, that's the most amazing thing that I can think of, and that's what I do more and more.
Why is that amazing for you? Like, why is this important to you? Why does this trigger you, do you think?
Because I like autonomy myself. The people cannot say what I like to go somewhere, and that's also what we did in the past. I want to reach something, but I want to do it in my own hands. We want to do it just together. Nobody is telling how to do it. So I love that, and I'm still, if I see that this is not, if they don't do it to me, I'm triggered with that. So I'm trying a little bit to fight back, but I also feel that for others. If I see this is happening, I want to solve this. I want to let people feel that they can really do it on their own, in their own way, and that I see that they living up, because that's also giving me a good feeling if I can do that.
And can that be created, or is that? I imagine it can be created, but or is it also maybe just an accidental convergence of like-minded people that it just really sparks? There must be a bit of both. I mean, it's probably
both, because it's of course nice to have a kind of a connection with each other. But on the other hand, you sometimes need different people to really have some diversity and really go the next step. If you all are the same, then you can have a spark, but it doesn't mean that you go to results. So, but can it be created? Well, probably not always, but for me, it's like talking about it. What do we want to achieve? That's the biggest thing, and I like to spend some time on that, because that's for me the energy that we give. If you really want to have something, and other people also, and you can talk about it, you can align on it, and then it gets extra energy. So yeah, and of course sometimes it's completely conflicting, and then at some point you probably will shift out of each other. But anyhow, that's also okay. But yeah, spending time on really discussing what you want to achieve is for me one of the biggest things. And if you get that, and you can align on that, because that's also a little bit the thing. If you can start aligning on that, then you will see that people will. First of all, you go to the same kind of goal, but you see that people also grow into others in their own growth, and that you see that they also love to work there. Yeah.
And if we grab onto that, and we've had some conversations on this before we press record, and bringing together the energy of a collective dream, which can sometimes be super artificial, corporate hoo-ha, sometimes probably even more destructive than helpful, and then connecting that to the individual dream. I think my second job out of university was working with a company called Solution Bank, which was interesting because we had no solutions and we were not a bank, but it was an ERP implementation company. And Tom Carey, my manager at the time, love that guy, gave me the tip, and it's one of the many tips I've collected along the way to help me be a manager, which was, if you can attach someone with their own internal motivation to an opportunity or a challenge that the company really needs done, then basically the job of a manager is very easy. You just get out of their way and give them some support every once in a while. I'm like, wow, that's like cheating, isn't it? But it's so true. So I think let's dive down that rabbit hole, and I'd love it if you can figure out how can you merge, based on your experience, the ambition of the organization and the dream of the individual. And of course, an organization is multiple individuals, so you have a collective issue going on here as well. There's a dynamic going on. How do you see that? What's happening there?
Yeah, how do I see that? For me, it's one of the problems that we sometimes have. First of all, how energized is that company ambition? So how much did we talk about it? Sometimes we go to a workshop, and this is now the vision. So 3 hours talk, and we have the vision. So most of the times you just need to talk more about it, so that you really live it. And then I mean the top managers, if they really live it, then they start talking about it continuously. Now, that's definitely one of the first steps. But there's also a second, and second, what I noticed is the following: if you can see these dreams as a kind of wood, with a lot of trees, it could be that the ambition of the company is maybe third, fourth. Maybe there's a tree in front of them, their own ambition, or the team ambition. Maybe they suffer from something. Maybe they want to clear out some things. So the idea is to work on that a little bit, to make sure that they are improving the way of working, for example. And if that's out of the way, then it's easier to also then hang your ambitions to the company goal. So for me, that's why it's needed that every team, every person really need to put his ambitions there, and try to match that. Can we achieve that, or are there other things maybe that we need to do first to get that clearance, and then hang on to the company vision? But again, starting from the fact also that company vision is really discussed. People live that, people talk about it, because that's for me dreams. A dream is that something you feel that you really want, and sometimes people say, yeah, we have told the vision one time, and then people are not talking about it. Well, if you really want that, then you don't need a moment to really start talking about it. It's something you do continuously, and most of the time I refer them to these startups. They have done this. People are talking about. Everybody is talking about the vision and the ambition that they want to achieve. And then you also see the energy, how that the energy that is in that company at that moment. Definitely in the startup.
I don't want to talk about best practices because those don't really exist, but in a startup, as I've experienced in startups, that is more of a natural process because you're still trying to figure out why we exist. And I think that because we acknowledge we don't know why we exist, then it becomes a thing. Hey, yeah. Well, why are we here? What impact do we actually want to make? Who are we actually serving? What do we actually do for them? Does anyone care? We think so, and then oftentimes there's a founder perhaps that has a dream, but that dream, of course, as soon as it hits reality, it needs other people. And so there's this natural sort of convergence of energy on it. How can you keep that alive, I guess? And you're not just creating a vision statement, okay, our vision and our strategy and our missions on a poster, and we look at it, it's in the utility closet on the back of the door. We look at it once a year and like, oh yes, we've got our, we're together, which of course everyone knows doesn't work.
Yeah, for me, this is the most difficult thing, and also the most needed thing to get the energy and the dream there. I also worked at a kind of not a startup, but a new project completely from scratch. And we also, the first 3-4 years were amazing. Everybody was really wanting to jump into that. And then you start also delivering in the field, and it's even more energized because you see that people really want that. But then at some point, it's starting to slow down. So we didn't put a lot of effort anymore in figuring out, okay, what's the next big thing that we want to achieve? We were just looking to the customers and asking, okay, which extra feature do we need? Okay, all small things, but it didn't give any energy anymore. And I noticed that we were not talking a lot about it anymore. It was just business as usual. And then the question is, okay, is our product now full? Should we just maintain it and just maybe look for something else? Or is there some other dream that we want to realize? What is the next thing? Where can we get energy out of it? And for me, that's the change that can be made. But it's not easy because you will have to dig into that. You will have to think, okay, what do we really want now? And I don't know. It could be that in some cases your product is just it's done. It's just small things anymore. But on the other hand, maybe you have a kind of innovation that really bring the energy back. And secondly is also the way of working, because also there it's not only about, for me, it's not only about product. Sometimes it can also be the way of working. Let's say that you have a kind of a product, a system you have developed in, you might have built up a lot of technical debt. You suffer from that. Also there you can have a dream like, okay, wouldn't it not be nice that within next year we can still work on new features again and not being trying to fix all kinds of issues. Also there you can have a dream. Also there you can launch something new that says, okay, this is what we want to achieve. Also there you can bring people in a kind of a more energized state, because you solve problems then in the way of working. Yeah.
What's alive in me when you're talking is again, there's this dynamic of the collective and the individual.
Yeah.
And my belief is, in general, people like to be stimulated and work on things that are valuable and have that level of autonomy. And indeed, sometimes the organizational momentum slows down, and then maybe there's people in that organization that have a different outlook, and then they might choose to leave or slow down themselves or be frustrated or something like that. I guess that's maybe that's the definition of leadership, is to align those dreams and ambitions over time.
Yeah, definitely. This is what we also do. We ask other people then the personal ambitions, and a good example is we had a tester at some point, and I normally talk with them about ambitions, and he was like, "Yeah, well, I'm already testing for 15 years or something. I would like to more go into development and writing code." And I asked him, "Okay, can I put that in a team? That this is your ambition? Can I just say okay to the whole team? He wants to write more code," and so we did, and the team was in the beginning like, "Wow, we are now with the difficult part, and it's maybe difficult to get you on board," and so they were a little bit defensive in first, and then one guy was saying, "Yeah, but after 3 sprints, we have something that is not so difficult, so we could guide you." And so they started helping him out to realize that he could more do programming. And also this gives also in the whole team then a kind of dynamic, because they are serving him and he's learning, and they like that he is learning. So also they're really knowing it is nice, and your team also benefits from it. Even if the others might not have the next step, they are just willing to learn him and to see him improving, and that's nice. And we do that in a lot of with a lot of people, figuring out what the ambition is. And of course, in some cases, then you lose people because they are growing. They're growing maybe outside of what the expectations, but at least that period, that 2, 3, 4 years that you really were learning. Yeah, you get a lot of energy in your team. It just helps the whole team. So definitely something to put effort in.
Yeah, bring that energy in, and if we unpack the tester example there must have been a space of trust, because in it's not every organization you could talk to your manager and say, "I want to do something completely different with my job." That could be perceived as not okay, meaning we want you to fill this role forever. You're maturing in that role. We're investing in you. We've certified you on testing. You are the. So there's I'm just imagining there's already a space of trust and dialogue and genuine curiosity going on there. And then there was a bravery of that person to have that being made public, and like I can imagine if I put out in the world that I want to be a top singer, that I don't, because I've tried to sing. Not in my wheelhouse. So that's not ever going to happen. But yeah, wow. The bravery of that. And then there's something in the space of people were given the space, I don't know, the right to react in different ways. How did you create that? Like again, there's part of people that show up and they have their personalities, but you as a manager, what did you do to facilitate those dynamics in that space?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I started as a scrum master in that team before, and I work on. I always be as a little bit servant, but I will not take the work out of their hands. I never do that. My question most of the time is, can you do that, or should I help? Most of the times they go for the first question, because it's like, oh, I fail if I don't do that. But that's how I build also a relationship, and I'm always there for them. Also, if they fail, they can just tell me. I will not judge on that. We'll just, as quick as possible, figure out, okay, how can we solve it? Really go into solution space. That's how I build it up, and praising them if something went good. So I give them the freedom a little bit, And I also talk about the beliefs I have. So I believe in growing and ambition. So I also discussed that with him. So later on, I started to be the manager of them. That's the first thing I did. I said, okay, I want to talk about you with you guys on certain topics, but I also want to hear what are you want to talk about, and what's the frequency that we will discuss these things with each other. So I give them a little bit of ownership of this also. And some people say, okay, I only want to talk to 2 months with each other. That means we probably will not go too far in that ambition. But some will do it more closely on the closer time frame. And then I'm talking about their ambition. I ask them, and first time, yeah, they have done it with me also. The first question is like, I have to think about it. It's difficult. It's not easy to think about it. So, but I keep doing that, just asking, okay, let's say that we are here. What would you like to be? And it doesn't have to be a role. So I try to get out of the roles. It's not like, okay, now I'm in, I also didn't talk with the tester like that. Do you want to be a developer? No. What do you want to achieve? What would you like to do? So not about roles, about what is step. Could be small. And then we'll try to figure out how we can realize that. So I make that open. If I think, okay, maybe the team can help, I ask them, can I put that in the team? If they say, no, we want to do it separately, then I listen to that. Because for me, every step in that direction is just a nice step. So rather a couple of small steps than that one big step that will not happen. And I think that's how I create a little bit also the space for him. And what I also do is in team, I give them the autonomy. I'm there. I'm still asking questions, but on system level, I try to also move some prompts for them. If they have to go too much to meetings or something, I'll try to launch that discussion. So it's not within the team, but their environment around it. And that's how I see that we are also working together on getting things done. And so I'm not the manager that is at the site. I do something for them, but not in the teamwork, but their surrounding. And that's how I build up the trust.
Let me have fun with this and flip the roles a little bit. And Jürgen, what is your ambition?
My ambition is the following. I've been inspired by some persons, and that's why I also joined to Adjugo. I'm inspired on how to do things, how to talk to people, how to try to grow them, how to give them space, but not just for the well-being, but also to realize things. So for me, it's a combination of well-being together with reaching results, because reaching results is having your purpose. So for me, I'm inspired by that, and that's what I want to spread out. I want to spread out. Okay, some things can just go differently, but more in more human way, and we still can make results. On the contrary, if we do it good and we get a lot of people energized, it will even go better. And that's where I see that a lot of managers do a really good job. They really take the teams along, but sometimes it stops. It stops on their speed, and I still believe that we can do a better job. If we can overcome that they are working according to the speed of the manager, but even are more energized, then there's a whole dimension extra that can open up if we do that. And that's what I want to spread out. I want to show and let people feel that there's another way of doing things, a more positive and more sustainable, because that's an important one. I also want to make it more sustainable. If you have your team, I still want to have them, for the guys that have that ambition, still working the same way 10 years later. If they leave, they should leave because of another bigger ambition, but not because it's not a good place to work.
Yeah. So Adjugo, Karen, Marie, Chris, Jan, you. I think that's all now. It's growing. What an amazing group of what we seem to call the word magician keeps coming up a little bit. I'm not sure if it's a magic, because there's quite the deliberateness to this, but if anyone is reflecting on agile transformation of self-organizing, of injecting energy, then please check out Adjugo at adjugo.com. It's adjugo.com. And through what activities, Jürgen, are you, because you've just started with Adjugo after 25 years with an organization, so that's a big move. Going from in the organization for a long time, and now you're able to advise and coach and consult to multiple organizations. What is it that you can actually do with these organizations that give you a call and say, hey, Jürgen, give us, help us achieve this ambition?
Wow, that would be nice, Chris, if they already start with, I have this ambition, because then we have a good start. And then it's what we can do is guide people, make sure that people are connecting to it, that they could realize it, that they want to realize it. These are the things that we definitely could do, and also that we have a kind of making results in a good way, so that people really start innovate also in the way of working, because it's not that we have all the innovation in our hands. We like them to find solutions. A lot of framers started just because there was a need, and a lot of innovative people that looked for another way to accomplish that. So also there we see ourselves as a kind of backpack of things, but what we like the most is also coaching, so that people figure out solutions for themselves, because that's the thing that we really want to achieve. And secondly, if they don't have a dream, or maybe just, okay, here's a job and we want to have 7 teams working together, for me, it could be a dream, but maybe there's something else. We can help you to figure out, what do you really want now to achieve? What is it that makes you waking up and going to the office? Try to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm about to ask you, what does that perfect customer look like? But it's in my Agile coaching is an incredibly powerful mechanism, in an organization. But I sometimes liken it like I was in a distribution curve, because there's one tail or one side of people who are very good at more Newtonian management science approaches that are a bit more command and control, and that it can be perfect and beautiful. It can work really, really well, and there's many industries and situations where that is absolutely appropriate. And then there's another side, if you call it more self-driven, let's say autonomous, more into the dynamic governance type space. And if someone's already over there and they're already an expert in that, as an executive or manager, and that can also be perfectly applicable in situations. So there's not a right or wrong here. But I think neither of those ends need an agile coach, because one has solved the problem another way, and one is already completely swimming in the Kool-Aid. So then somewhere in the middle there are people that are maybe living in a space where what they've learned in the past as management is not having the optimum results. The performance isn't there. The frustrations isn't there. The outcome isn't there. But they are somehow aware that, hey, maybe we can do this different. So there's an opportunity for a shift. And I think by no means does an agile coach come in with the book of Agile, and I hope not, and say, oh, this is the new religion. You had MBA, the MBA book yesterday, and now we have the Agile book today, and all your problems are solved. That's just bullshit. But so at least I think. So for you, what would that perfect environment be? Like if you talk about it, at the executive level, the middle management level, the staff level, maybe the industry, that like, oh, this is just the sweet spot of let me chew on that.
I think you already mentioned a little bit. I like that, and I think a lot of higher management have some ideas on where to go to. That's my experience. Most of the times they do. Maybe it's difficult to realize it, but for me, it's like you have that dream that you have on top, and the rest of the company is focused on the teams. The team should be self-organized, and they should work fine. And then you have the whole middle layer. And the whole middle layer that I also want to let them dream, because this is, for me, the most important thing. So they should just not follow and trying to executing what is needed. And it's not only the teams that need to be self-organized, and because, first of all, it takes some time to do that, because you need to build up trust and so on. But there's a whole middle layer, and that's where I try to focus also. I also want them to dream. What do they want to achieve? How can they mix it with the company vision? And that's where I see a bigger challenge, because a lot of people are maybe just put in that position there. They never been coached or whatever, or have a good idea. There are a lot of other examples, but in some cases you really see that, and it's just nice to trigger that. So for my my assignment that I would like to have is indeed having a kind of good knowledge about where we want to go, a good story about that, and maybe a middle layer that we can figure out how to deal with that, and get that and put their initiatives and their ideas into that, and figure out how we can combine that. A lot of things has changed, and that's what I have seen, is because we are so focused on that self-organizing team that a lot of managers don't know, can I now interfere with them or not? Before it was easy. It was more command and control. They could say, okay, do this. But now a lot of people are doubting, okay, what is now my position? What should I do here? How should I grow people? How do I give direction in some way? So for me, that's the ideal workplace currently, to make a difference, because I really believe that there I can be of the best impact.
I just literally the hour before had a coaching call with a CTO that I've been coaching, and the opportunity for middle management to have an incredible amount of impact in these changes is huge. Yeah. Because the question was from one of his middle managers, and they're just going through a pretty fundamental, organization shift now. Was like, well, but if we do all of this, then there won't be anything for me to do. Yeah. And that could be true if you go all in sociocracy, holacracy, and the whole concept of manager is abolished. But most organizations won't do that, at least not in the short term. It might be. It might be a direction to go, but typically you're operating in an industry that is quite traditional. And so therefore the people coming from other organizations will be quite traditional. And typically the executive structure expectations are quite traditional. So actually the challenge is how within a more traditional organization can you start and grow this value stream focused different perspective. And actually it's where those two worlds collide, which is right at middle management, where the magic happens, like the fun happens, because that's where the friction is going to happen. Yeah. And particularly in situations with in moments of crisis, meaning if a team can on their own solve a problem, great, rock on. But if you need cross-team coordination or something else, like you said, your task was, I forget the word you used, but basically removing impediments for teams, solving problems. I think the definition of manager will change, but it can be a lot more exciting, because you're gonna have to be closer to the executive to figure out what's going on, what do they actually need, and in a way you have to be closer with the teams to find out, well, what's actually going on. Is that, I don't know, this is just alive in me because I just literally had that conversation. So let me check in with you as an expert. Am I anywhere close to right on that, or am I preaching nonsense?
No, it's correct, because indeed, one of the things that need to be arranged, because I worked with multiple teams. Then we saw that maybe architects should work together as a team. So and maybe security guys need to work as a team. And maybe for quality, you have because we use a kind of sociocracy also there. We have to put a couple of people there to make sure that we have our quality. And how do we do that? And the nice thing is that. Okay, you can say, okay, these will now work, and I have no problem as a manager, and it's solved. It's not the case, because most of the times they also need to learn to work together. And what I have seen is that if a leader is setting expectations on quality and say, okay, it would be nice to have a system where maybe we have only one big issue every month or something. If he really puts that there, then also that team can start working more, because they have a kind of idea where to work to. It gives them also kind of goal to work to. And if you then also coach that team a little bit, then that manager will also feel that he has impact, because he set some directions and things are happening. And if not, then he can still figure out how to help them in a certain way. But he has to do that. And indeed, if this is more and more working out, what I have seen is that they are more open to the strategy of the company, because then they have time for that. And that's what I noticed. There were too much. I talked about these trees. There were too much trees in front of them that they were not really looking to the strategy of the company, because they are trying to fix all the issues with the teams. So from the moment you can do that and give some direction, and you ask feedback and be very informative about it, and the steps they are making, then time is free to really figure out, okay, if we want to achieve this, how do we do that? So you get more time to really do the most important thing of your job. And for me, I think a manager likes more to think about the future than figuring out all the problems that he needs to solve and to get away of problems. Because that's more energized.
Again, it's the opportunity for more energetic work. It's more meaningful, purposeful work, and I love it. So, Jürgen, starting to wrap up. This has been delightful. You have shared with me before this, like this picture of some of this of converging that. What I'd like to do, if you're okay with it, I'll post that on the show notes of the page. But could you give me like 2 minutes or something, as like what will they see if they look at this picture, and why is it worth looking at?
The picture is based on two how people look to motivation. First of all, you have the vision and the strategy of a company, and there's a whole lot of things like OKRs, and they use for that, really getting the strategy into that. And other people are really focusing on the ambitions of people, really make them stronger and what they want to achieve. What I noticed is that you have to put them together. You have to look to the company and the vision goals and what you want to achieve together with the people. And the nice thing, if you do that, then you have a great discussion. Sometimes it just is in line, like startups, new projects, new innovation. Most of them, they are just in line with each other. They have talked a lot about it, and it gives you an extra energy to work on that. I think that's the most energized mode that you can be in. On the other hand, it could also be that you have your vision, what you want to achieve with your product division and so on. And it could be that you have your own ambitions, your personal ambitions, and they can live together. That's also nice, because people are working on it. They can grow in the way they want, and it has no effect on the contrary, because they are happy. Also, we will more target realizing the vision of the company. But the third one is even nicer for me. In sociocracy, they call it the gift. There's a gift if you see that you are not in line with each other. Your personal ambition do not match the company ambitions. And the thing is that you know that. You can start discussing it. And in some cases, it doesn't mean that you have to change something. You might just look around with these guys, with your manager and and your team and your people, and to see, okay, are we looking in the same way? First of all, maybe we are not conflicting. We might think we are conflicting. So that's already a nice one to just see how to check that. On the other hand, it could be that we have a conflict, but also there we can see, okay, what can we do to make it acceptable, to make in one of the other conditions, or maybe at some point leave if that's really needed. But anyhow, if you keep conflicting, it's nice to know because maybe you are not at the right spot. But you at least have to try to figure out, maybe we can align in some way. Maybe we can have a win-win situation. That's what you want there. Can we have a win-win situation? And that's a little bit the drawing that we have made and that I use to show people. Let's talk about these two things: team ambitions, company ambitions. Can we align them? Yes or no? What does it mean if we bring them together?
And I will put that in the show notes. So wherever you're listening to this on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever, just click through to the show notes and you can see that. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the term sociocracy and holacracy, I'm delighted to share that episodes coming up after this with Jürgen. We have Jeff Kumps, who is he wrote the Sociocracy 3.0 book that's recorded and ready to go. And then Brian Robertson, who created Holacracy, has come on, and he's going to be coming up on an episode soon as well. So if some of these terms are a bit abstract, check it out. I have to admit, with the Brian Robertson episode, we talked very little about sociocracy. We mostly talked about love, so, which in a way, holacracy is a manifestation of love, as I've discovered, which is great. And in wrapping up, I would also invite people to go to adjugo.com, where you can learn more about that agency and what Jürgen and those others can do. I met Jürgen, as we opened with, at XP Days Benelux, and that is xpdaysbenelux.nl. And on the 10th of May in Belgium, there is a mini XP Days session. So please join at xpdaysbenelux.nl. And Jürgen, I know you're going to be giving a workshop there, the one that I experienced, which was a lot of fun and thought-provoking, energizing. And I'd like to close with maybe an odd invitation that Jürgen has just joined Adjugo. And this might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to grab this person's time, because he's just started. At this particular moment, he's available. So if you're at all triggered by what you've heard, and if you would like this kind of energy injected into your organization, act fast, because this type of skill and experience and care will not be available forever. So, but of course, with Adjugo, there's other great people, and they give trainings and other experiences as well. But if you're looking for this kind of energy in your organization, then please find Jürgen on LinkedIn or at adjugo.com. So, Jürgen, thank you so much for the conversation. This was great. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Chris. It was a great conversation. And let's do it maybe also outside of the podcast. So let's meet again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Download the Simplicity Toolkit from Ebullient.com to discover the power of the Simplicity Scan and Sprint. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite player.